Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Bobby Spiegel, and I'm the President, CEO for the Corona Chamber of Commerce. Just want to welcome you to today's call. This is a weekly call that we have at 10 o'clock. Every Wednesday morning, we have different speakers, and they're on a very tight time schedule. And as Don Williamson will be introducing the various speakers, he will be kind of reiterating their time frame that we've slotted for them. There's an opportunity for you to actually use the chat room if you're on Zoom to go in and type in your message. Desiree will go ahead and repeat that question out or ask that question of each of the speakers when it's the appropriate time. Not everyone that is on the Zoom call will be able to see those questions, so that's why we ask that we don't respond to those. We will go ahead, the chamber will ask those questions, and then the speaker will go ahead and respond. Additionally, I would like to make sure that if you could mute yourself, that would be most helpful so that we can limit any background noises and we can run through the program as quickly and efficiently as possible. We have about 20 pounds of potatoes to put in a 5-pound bag today, and that is typical with our meetings. And what I'm so pleased with is that the various speakers and presenters that are sharing today are cognizant of that time frame. And they will condense and be able to just get right to the point on various things. With that, I would like to just mention that our sponsor for today's event is Robertson's Ready Mix, and we're so proud to have them as one of our sponsors. And if any of you are interested in becoming a sponsor, please let me know. We would be glad to put your slide up during the program, a couple of times during the program. With that, I would like to just turn it over to our chairman of the board, Don Williamson. Donnie?
Thank you, Bobby. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are continuing these meetings, which we hope are helpful to you. This is just one in a series of meetings that we have through the chamber. I hope all of you will check out our website and just see what is offered. You can look and see, like any morning, what we're doing that very day. So please keep up with us and see what we're doing. The chamber remains very active. Our advocacy is especially active. And we're always tracking legislation and things that are going to confront us, which it's always the unexpected, as you know, this year. You remember last week that Supervisor Spiegel shared the information about the grants. I think we have a slide up that are available through the county for $10,000. So those are available, and the link here is shown on the website. So if you have any interest in that, please check out the website, and hopefully some good can come of that. As Bobby said, we're very grateful for our speakers. You know, we have people who have the vital information to keep us updated on what's going on. It's not rumors, these are the facts. So when you come here, that's what you get. As Bobby said, use your chat button for questions. And if you're on Facebook, which I know a lot of you are, just put your question in the comment, and Desiree can pick them up from there. And that's how we'll do this thing. Our first participant today is from the Occidental Communications Group, and that is our major legislative advocate, Jeff Gibson. Jeff?
Good morning, everybody. So the state legislature has been in session now for almost a month. They are considering a budget, like we discussed, that's $54.3 billion out of balance. They are going to handle that by passing basically a placeholder budget sometime in the next 2 weeks, in part because of the COVID emergency, put all of the taxes back to, instead of being collected on April 15th, they will be collected on July 15th. So in every other scenario, the legislature really is very responsive to a June 30th budget deadline, but unfortunately they can't know precisely what the tax revenue is going to be, so they're going to come back in August and at that point cut. The assumption is in this budget that the federal government will be joining to provide a bailout to states. That since that original proposal in early May in the original revise, it's become clear that for a majority of states, in fact, about 33 states right now, according to morning estimates, started their economic recovery April 15th. So while the month of March and the early part of April were disastrous across the country, and we don't want to make any sort of light of that. Technically, they have not experienced a recession. They've experienced an incredibly huge downturn that feels a lot like a recession, but their recovery started April 15th. Those states, by and large, along with about 10 other states, are not experiencing any problems with their state budget financing. So that puts you at about 90 votes, 90 representatives in the U.S. Senate, and about 350 in the U.S. House that their states don't need a bailout. So the likelihood that California will get a bailout, which would be historic, is very unlikely. So what is going to end up happening in August are that the state is going to be looking at tax hikes, how to push some of their policies that they would be paying for otherwise onto businesses, and looking at ways to cut and push expenses off onto local governments and regional governments. We've seen this show we're very familiar with, unfortunately. Two of the bills that we're going to be discussing on Friday for action in opposition to are AB 398, which would impose a $275 tax on any employer of over 500 workers in the state of California. When this was attempted in Washington, they actually rescinded it before it took effect, because the Democrat governor there, Christine Gregoire at the time, referred to it as a job killer. Seattle went through this. If you remember, 2 years ago, they considered an Amazon tax. They referred to it as a job killer. Cupertino, looked at this, and it was the same thing. Mountain View has enforced this on Google in Mountain View. And the mayor of Mountain View said that they have too many high-quality jobs in Mountain View and not enough transit. And so they're going to be enforcing this code. So it's, while it seems unlikely that in a normal year something like this would be advancing, it is moving through committee very rapidly, unfortunately. And we have a number of major employers in Corona that would be affected directly by that. And it's an annual tax, by the way. It's not an emergency tax. It would annually be $275 directly into the general fund for every employee at a location over 500 that has over 500 employees. The second that we're very interested in is AB 3216, which would require employers of any size. That is, if you have one employee, and in a AB 5 world, if you have someone that comes to your house to assist you and they have less than 5 clients, technically they are your employee. Well, if you employ them for more than 30 days, they can come to you at any point and say, I need a leave of absence. And they're entitled to 12 weeks paid leave of absence on an emergency notice. They have to give you a reason. It has to be related to a family emergency. You are constrained completely by the code being considered as an employer asking any other information than that, or doing any independent investigation on your own. And you have to keep the employer's spot open for an additional year, so that if at any point in that year they decided to come back and go to work, and say you employ 3 people because you have a small business and you hired another person, well, then you now have 4 employees. So, and that's not a supposition. Those are comments directly from the author of the bill. And that bill is moving through. The governor has said if something like that gets to his desk, he will sign it. So this is a huge, huge issue, as you can imagine, since it hits every single person. And again, in this post AB 5 world where there are no more independent contractors, except in cases of real estate agents and people like that, then there are a lot of employers that are waking up to find out, wait, technically, I guess I have an employee. So this is something that we're very interested in. Happy to discuss anything else that you would have to discuss, and we can go from there.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Desiree, do you have anything in the queue for Jeff?
No, Don, not at this time. Thank you,
Okay.
Jeff.
All right.
Again, thank you very much, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll be here on the call. So if something comes up, by all means,
Great.
let me know. Thanks.
Good
See you
information.
guys on Friday.
We appreciate your vigilance. Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to turn it over from the Riverside Medical Clinic, Judy Carpenter.
For both us, but also I've conferred with Mark for Corona Regional as well. And we're both continuing to do surgeries. All patients are being tested for COVID prior to the procedure. The hospital has also now implemented 100% testing on all patients being admitted into the hospital. This is regardless if they're having surgery or not. And this is to allow, I think, everyone greater comfort from the patient, staff, and physician's perspective on that. The hospital has adequate PPE right now at this time. And in fact, I think we all do. We're all a little worried, though, if we do have another onset, especially during flu season. This past week, I know Corona Regional saw a spike in COVID-19 cases. I think we all saw a little spike in largely due to the amount of testing that we're doing in the county and the availability of one-day test results, but also relaxing the social distancing rules a little bit in the public interaction. And we're all a little fearful for what's going on right now, that we're not going to see some spikes coming up as a result of actions of those that are out there. So I don't know if anyone has questions, but that's my update.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Desiree, do we have any questions for Judy?
Hold on, Don.
Okay, Judy, thank you very much for that.
Wait, Donnie, there is one. I was just asking you to hold on for a minute. Oh, you know what? I think this question was for Jeff. It just came in. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll thank Judy, and then we'll
Okay.
you can ask Jeff questions. Thank you,
You're
Judy.
welcome.
You want to go ahead and ask Jeff the question, who's on the call? Jeff is muted, though.
Yeah, Jeff, are you still there, right?
I am.
Yeah. So what you were referring to in your talk, does this include domestic worker or literal small businesses?
Anyone that you would under work rules have to have an arrangement that would make them an employee. So and there are a number of different arrangements for different workers. But if you previously had employed them as an independent contractor, for instance, we have a gardener here, and they have to provide a number of different items to us before we can pay them. And now they have to include a statement that they are an independent contractor, not an employee of ours, because they meet the ABC test. So, and that's just one of the things that I've worked with them to be able to do, because my kids are too lazy to help me with the yard. So, but that, so yeah, if for under any standard, they would have to be considered an employee under current code. Then yes, you would have to provide them with 12 paid weeks of leave on an emergency basis. So they could call you in the morning and say, I'm not coming in, or they could call you at lunch, or they could stand up at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, oh my gosh, gotta get home.
So thank you, Jeff. And any other questions for Jeff? What we'll do is we'll put those to our legislative meeting on Friday. We need to move with our agenda, and I apologize. Donnie?
Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce our supervisor, Karen Spiegel, who's worked really diligently for our business community with the state, both on the COVID, on trying to get grants for us, which we talked about a little earlier today. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to our Riverside County Supervisor, Karen Spiegel.
Well, good morning, all. Bruce Barton can't join us, so I'll give you some of the stats first because I know people are always curious. You get it in the paper, but we've tested over 123,000. We've confirmed 8,155 that were positive. But I think the most important number is we have recovered 4,804. Now, that doesn't mean that the remainder are still positive. We track them as best we can, trying to get the information, as we've talked before, about contact tracing. And that's really important that people understand it's not invasion of privacy. We're just trying to get control of this silly virus that's getting in the way of all of our lives. With a total of 342 deaths. Now, the deaths are climbing. The more you test, the more you have in our county. And you probably have also heard that we did have a few come in from Imperial County at the request of the county of Imperial. They were overflowed in their hospitals, and there's several counties that stepped up and accepted some of those folks. So we are working on having those numbers pulled out of our dashboard so that it will not be held against us, whether the state or even our constituents. With that being said, we have moved to the accelerated phase 2, as everyone knows, which means we have some openings. We're pushing to open to phase 3, which is more the personal care that I know many of you are wanting, as well as gyms and some of those other facilities that have closer proximity. And that's the key. That's why these numbers are important to watch if there's a spike as we slowly open things. And that's what we mean by safely reopening. We want to make sure that we're not increasing the spread by significant numbers. With that, we also, as it was mentioned earlier, with the grants for small businesses. At the same time, I brought up that our nonprofits have certainly been penalized and hurt dramatically through all this. Those people who have normally been giving, whether it's businesses or individuals, tend to hold back when their income is affected to giving to nonprofits. And so we have nonprofits that serve our community that are able to provide some of the needs that government or businesses can't, and they step up. So next agenda, next week on June 9th, we will be having on there the ability for nonprofits. So it's going to be a separate pool of money, not the small business. I didn't want to come out of that money, so we're working to find another source and another whole process so we don't overflow and mix those two. Now with the small business loans, we did extend the closing. I know it's a very tight schedule, but we only have the ability to give out 4,500, and we have over 80,000 businesses. So if you're thinking about it, jump on it. And you go to the website Rivco, R-I-V-C-O, bizhelp.org. And I believe it's supposed to have been up to date with the application process. And I'm hoping that many of our businesses jump on it. And if you don't need it, spread the word. Get the opportunity to somebody where 10,000 may make a big difference, whether they're able to make it. So anyway, with that, I think that's an update. If anybody has any questions, certainly ask.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Desiree, do we have any questions for Supervisor Spiegel?
We do. Let me get the first one. Supervisor Spiegel, someone's noticed that many businesses, employees do not wear masks, which is not safe. What is the county policy on that?
The county policy was to align with the state. The state does not require masks. We strongly recommend it, so we now have that within the county. Some of the businesses choose to have masks as a mandate. Some of the businesses must, depending on your reopening framework, depending on the type of business you are. So it's one of those ones I tell everybody, bring a mask, take advantage of the times you don't, particularly outdoors. But when you're coming in proximity of people, it is a courtesy. Masks are helping to not spread the virus. It's your droplets going on somebody else. It's not so much protection for you, but it is more so protection for others. So all of ours are trying to align, all of our orders to align with the state. We can always go more restrictive, but you can't go less restrictive than the state orders.
Thank you. Another question. If you can just confirm, someone needs clarification. If your business received PPP, you are not eligible for the county's grant.
Correct. In the EIDL or PPP or SBA loans. It's just another whole, we're trying to get as many businesses to get some type of extra funding, and that's why this is another source. And this is a grant that will not need to be paid back if you follow the rules. And it's not that difficult. We've tried to make it simplistic so that you can take care of business.
Thank you. And one more, going back to the mask issue. What about businesses that do not space customers properly?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
What about businesses that do not space customers properly in reference to the mask wearing?
Their employees or customers?
Customers, it says. They're asking about customers.
Well, here's the thing, and this is, employees are more important for a business, and if they choose not to mandate masks, then we have the option of not patronizing their business. I think that's as simplistic as I can tell you. We cannot tell them to mandate it. The state doesn't and the federal doesn't, and that was why we made the alignment so it was easy for transition. As soon as they said open, we could open, and there'd be one set of information, and they wouldn't have to say, okay, what's the county require, what's the state require? We got in line with them, so CDC, WHO, none of them have required face masks, and that's why we aligned with them.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Supervisor. That it, Desiree?
That's all. I was just going to thank Supervisor Spiegel. No further questions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Supervisor Spiegel. We appreciate your time and the information. Before we get to our main feature, I'd like to turn it over for a few seconds to Mary Barnett, whose business is Another Brilliant Idea. Mary has created our immediate response and notification program for important advocacy updates and reminders. What happened here Monday was a prime example of how effective this system works. Mary and the FLAG program, which is the Frontline Appreciation Group that she established, has partnered with the Corona Chamber Foundation to provide meals for healthcare workers, ambulance companies, dispatch for Corona Police and Fire, and retirement center workers. They've raised over $15,000 and served nearly 2,000 meals through partnering with local restaurants and eateries since April 10th. And so she's going to give us an update about the final appreciation outreach. So please welcome Mary Barnett.
Hey everybody, excuse me. Hey everybody, thank you again so much for all of your support and love to our healthcare workers and senior care and ambulance drivers and police and fire. And with the turn of events and things opening up now, we wanted to give some extra love to the police and fire departments. Last week we delivered hot meals for their evening shift, and they were so appreciative of it. And we wanted to do it again this week because we have just enough to feed them one more time in our flag budget, I guess you call it. So we're hoping that if people want to also support our local wonderful, hardworking, good police and firefighters, we would love anyone else who would like to donate to FLAG to do so. FLAG stands for Frontline Appreciation Group, and it's just been amazing how much the community has come together making signs. And they were so appreciative of the signs. They put them up in their break rooms and everything. So we're looking for about at least $1,500 more. If you want to opt in for that, you could text the word FLAG to the number 71441, and you get little links. You can donate on the chamber website as well, and it's a nonprofit status, so it's completely tax-free or write-off. And or you can also join our group on Facebook that will give you updates and see all the love everybody's giving this organization. I'm so blessed to be a part of it. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for all the good work that you've done for us.
My pleasure.
Desiree, does anyone have a comment or anything they want to address with Mary on the chat room?
No, not at this time. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Mary.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'd like to get to our feature speaker, which today is going to be provided by our mayor. And it's really going to be entitled Corona's Open for Business. And he's going to have introducing a couple of different departments with him. Jim Steiner, it's our mayor. He's going to provide a full state of the city specific to the business community on July the 17th, which you can see on this slide. You can make a reservation by using that link that you can see there at the bottom. So please, please plan on attending that. The mayor and our city council has been very busy with all these surprises of 2020. And Jim, I've known Jim for many years. Jim has served our community for many years, and he's well trained and can deal with all the theoretic fires that come his way, which is contract negotiations, protests, cannabis, budgeting. He's pretty much been through the ringer with that. He's also a former Citizen of the Year for the Corona Chamber of Commerce. So it's my pleasure this time to introduce to you our mayor, Jim Steiner.
Thank you very much, Don. It certainly has been some interesting times for us. I'm waiting for the Prado Dam to burst next week. It's just, it would go fitting with everything going on. But, you know, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that's been going on, the city is continuing to see new business interest within the industrial areas. Staff is working now with multiple businesses looking to occupy space in Corona. Staff is also working with restaurants on permissible outdoor seating arrangements, and I encourage restaurants to work with their property owners and the city to plan to increase sit-down dining capacity. The city is encouraging businesses who did not receive federal stimulus funding to apply for Riverside County Small Business Grant. We appreciate the Chamber's assistance in making sure businesses know of this opportunity. Many questions have come up regarding downtown. I can assure you that Lab Holdings is committed to moving forward with the rehabilitation of the Corona Mall and currently has approved plans for South Mall improvements. Now, it has been challenging. The banks have been very challenging to work with in this market. However, we fully expect construction loans to be funded shortly as the market begins to rebound. Additionally, the downtown medical office development at 6th and Bell is moving forward quickly. You may have noticed concrete trucks lined up this past week. This is due to a large concrete vault being built that will house state-of-the-art cancer treatment equipment for the city of Hope. In total, the two buildings will add nearly 60,000 square feet of Class A medical office for our downtown. That's really all I have for you today, guys. If you got any questions on any of that, I know Ryan Cortez is also on this line. He might be able to answer some more specific stuff, but that's pretty much all I got for you.
Any questions in the queue for the mayor?
Yes, there was one previously. Let me get to it, please. Hold on. Okay, this one is Mayor Steiner. Lately, we've been getting hit with a lot of dumping in the back of our buildings, non-disposable items like tires, presumably coming from consumers who don't want to pay the tire fees at the tire shop across the street, as well as other items. We're in the process of adding some additional cameras to get a better eye on things, but we'd definitely like to hear what the city has dealt with or helped reduce this kind of thing.
Well, I think, you know, when in regards to code enforcement issues or, you know, maybe some specific things that the city has or that the police are dealing with, you know, and what we've been dealing with homeless issues. But specifically to your question of dumping tires and stuff behind businesses, I'm not aware of any additional efforts that we've done to prevent that. I know it's important that we continue to try to staff our code enforcement and you know, and make sure we're out there enforcing as much as we can with the resources that we have. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question better.
Thank you, Mayor.
So Donnie,
Also, yeah, I know. And I know Mayor Steiner and all the four other members of the Corona City Council are working tirelessly, and we just want to express our appreciation for that. And
Hey,
also,
Donnie,
we have another speaker from the Economic Development Coordinator, Ryan Cortez.
All right. I believe the mayor was just going to say something right now. He's wrapping up. If he's still on, I'll go ahead and let him finish. I think he had one.
Ryan, go ahead, brother. I didn't know you were coming on next. I thought the chief was, and I just wanted to. I just wanted to make sure that you know, we gave a real big shout out to Chief Johnstone before he speaks. He did an incredible job dealing with a very delicate situation with the protest last Monday, and just been doing a phenomenal job with dealing with the civil unrest. So I just wanted to make sure I say that before I was done for the day, guys.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yep, and I'll second that. And it looks like we may have jumped ahead.
We did.
So, Don, I'll let you take it. If we want to have the chief go, I'm more than happy. Let's pass it over to him.
Okay, let's do that. Chief, are you here? Chief Johnstone?
I am. Hopefully you have video and audio.
We do.
We do.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to address you and thank you for the invitation to speak regarding the recent events in our city, region, and across our nation. I want to begin by stating first and foremost that the death of George Floyd and the related police actions leading to that appall me. I was hurt to watch what happened to George Floyd. I was sickened at knowing that it was at the hands of men and women in the profession which I hold to such a high degree of nobility and professionalism. And on watching the 8-minute and 46-second video, I felt compelled to write a letter to our community. That letter is posted on our social media and accessible there. I also believe it's important for you to know that I do not stand alone in my profession with these beliefs. I stand in solidarity with chiefs of police in our county, across our region, and across the nation, that George Floyd's death at the hands of the police is unacceptable. I sought to gain understanding and wisdom through our community, and I'm fortunate to lead a department that had long established and been granted support from the community. When I asked, I was allowed to listen, I was spoken with, and we held important conversations with faith-based and community-based leaders. The faith-based leaders, they challenged me and they asked me to look into the hearts of the men and women that are tasked with policing, because I'm responsible for their actions when they are in our community. That is a difficult responsibility, but one I take very seriously. In order to look into the hearts of the men and women, it was recommended that I share what's in my heart. And that's what led to the community letter, to meetings in our briefing trainings, and to challenging my men and women that enforce the laws in our community to police with honor, safety, and empathy. Honor, adhering to what's right, safety, protecting our community, and empathy, sharing the feelings of others. The protest at Santana Park grew much concern from our community, and I too was concerned. Our police department sought to meet with the organizers to work to ensure that the First Amendment rights were first protected. That is the most important. And to ensure that this event was not co-opted or stolen by others with criminal intent. The credit for a peaceful protest clearly and firstly belongs with those that put this protest together, the organizers, the young men and women. Also, credit should be given to our community members, our elected officials, and our faith and community-based leaders. Their attendance and their support truly made the difference. Some protests throughout the region have been co-opted and stolen by criminals seeking personal gain. The Corona Police Department will continue to provide for the safety and security of our community. Our department is currently on an emergency staffing plan. We have deployed more officers for all hours of the day and night, and you will see our officers assigned to 2-person patrol units. We have several dozen officers available to respond to any local or regional emergency request and not affect our local policing. I understand that uncertainty exists. I assure you that our police department is monitoring all available channels of information. I would like to also state that the National Guard is not deployed in our county. The curfew is no longer in place that was in place for June 1st. And if there are additional police needs, I remain in regular contact with our sheriff and also with local law enforcement leaders. Our police department has provided regional assistance to the city of Riverside and the county of Riverside. I am aware that there are roving bands of criminals that seek to burglarize our loot locations, mostly in the late evening or early morning hours. On June 1st, in the late evening and early morning hours, 3 burglaries occurred in our city that I attribute to criminals taking advantage of this situation. Last night, no burglaries occurred. Our officers are highly visible and working to intercept any such criminal activity. As we are exiting a pandemic, I encourage everyone to abide by the state health orders to prevent the further spread or potential spikes of COVID-19. Lastly, and as I started, the death of George Floyd is tragic, and I will assure you that I can do all I can to ensure your police department polices with honor, safety, and empathy. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Desiree, do we have any questions for Chief?
We do, just one. Chief Johnstone, what can we business owners do to help you with recruiting officers that can live in our community?
So thank you for that question. First of all, I'm looking for good men and women that have a desire to police our community. In speaking with our faith-based leaders, I make that same request. We are actively recruiting lateral police officers, and we are actively recruiting pre-service police officers, so those with no experience. Please send them to our website to seek additional information, or contact the Corona Police Department and ask to speak with our plans and training. Sergeant Ryan Brett is specifically the supervisor in charge of that, or they could email me at our police admin email, or personally at my george.johnstone@coronaca.gov email, and I will make sure that they get in contact with someone. We are actively recruiting, and we have a recruiting committee that is out seeking good men and women to police our community.
Thank you, Chief. And I mean, the words are shallow, but I just hope you can feel the appreciation that we have, not only for the Chamber of Commerce, but for our community, for the work that you and all of your officers do to make this one of the best places in Southern California, and through no small part because of our police department. And I just want to thank you so sincerely for your good work.
Thank you, Don, and my thanks extends back to the Chamber and to our community for the support and for challenging us to provide the best policing.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, now we will go back to our Economic Development Coordinator, multiple generation Coronan, Ryan Cortez.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. And just real quick, I want to echo the words and those kind words that were said about Chief Johnstone. I've had the opportunity this week to speak to numerous businesses. They're all very appreciative of the efforts that Chief and his department are doing. Just happy to have him here. So that said, I know we're on a bit of a crunch time, as Bobby shared, but I'll just go through some data points, some statistics, and some things that we're going to be doing coming out of this post-COVID, what I'll call the post-COVID era. As I shared last month, we did have numerous businesses that were contacted us via the WARN program as required regarding furloughs or large layoffs. In the last 30 days, we have not received any of those, so some good news there. The unemployment numbers, though, for April did come out. I can share that with you. We were at 4.1% ending the month of March, and then that 30-day period into April, we saw a rise up to 12.7. Although high, we did fare better than numerous communities in the region. And we are starting to see that number start to trickle back down. I do expect that the May number is going to increase again, but as we start to get into the June, July, that number is going to start to trickle down. Once that data is out, we'll share with you. As I shared last month, there was 28% of the total jobs in Corona that were considered to be at high risk category. However, as we start to open up into this phase 2 accelerated and hopeful that we'll get to phase 3 here, that number is dramatically decreased. So good news there. People are going back to work. We are still seeing limited, certain industries have limited employment or doing shift work, just taking safety precautions, but at least we have employees going back in some capacity. A couple of things that we'll be doing here at the city, and as I shared just prior to this in our flood committee, I had the opportunity to share to Vice Mayor Casillas as well as Council Member Scott in that committee. We've established some dashboards for each of our retail centers. It's got all up-to-date live information. It's got traffic information as well as all the demographic data for the 5, 10, and 15-minute drive times. What that's going to help us do is further conversation with retailers when we know that retailers are going to be a little bit more selective as they're choosing to expand, whether they choose to expand in Corona, Riverside, they have options. We need to make sure that they have the data and we can prove to them through data why they should locate here in Corona, why they'll be successful. So we're putting together some pretty amazing things. I want to thank our IT team here who spent a lot of hours helping develop these. And the next 30 days we'll be going live. It'll be outward facing to the public. We'll be sharing that with the chamber, but you'll be able to look at every single retail center and have up-to-date information about what's going on there. With that said, as the mayor shared, we're starting to see some increased activity in the industrial sector, starting to see businesses have interest in relocating again. About the last 60 days, we did see that kind of go a bit dormant. Businesses were kind of taking a bit of a break on just trying to figure out what this COVID impacts were going to be as we start to recover here. Businesses that were looking to expand have circled back and saying, yep, we do need locations and we want to be in Corona. So actively right now, I can share with you, I'm working with 3 large industrial users who are looking to expand here and bring jobs and resources to the community. With that said, though, I'll turn over to any questions anybody on the line may have.
Thank you. Desiree, do we have any questions for Mr. Cortez?
There is no questions.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for your input today and for that information. We truly appreciate it. And that's the main part of our meeting for today. Again, I want to thank all of our speakers for coming in and keeping us updated and informed, and all of you for coming in and getting informed and finding out what's going on here in our region. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to Bobby.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor Steiner. I so appreciate you, and we're looking forward to our full expansion of the State of the City with the business twist on the July 17th. The slide is up there right now. Just, it is case sensitive on it. If you are wanting to be a sponsor, please let us know. We'd love to include you in that as well. Our next event that we will have that everyone is looking forward to is our golf tournament. And that is going to be a great, great event. That'll be on August 5th. And if you are interested in having a foursome or being a sponsor, again, you can get a hold of Linda there or through the bit.ly that is on there. Our next slide that we will be showing is our Good Morning Corona breakfast this coming up month. And it will be our graduation class of the ELR, which is the Executive Leadership Roundtable program. And that is an ideal program. If you have not been part of it, we definitely want you to log in and come to the meeting. That will be an in-person meeting because Corona is reopened for business. And the slide there has all the information. Again, the bit.lys are case sensitive. So you'll see if they're capitalized, you need to make sure that that's done when you log in there, and that will get you right to the registration site. I know there's several people that are on our calls each week that may not be members of our chamber yet. We would love to have you consider being a member, and we have an ideal individual by the name of Robert Yanez who will be able to answer your questions and walk you through the process. We would like to welcome each and every business to our chamber family. If you know of businesses that you deal with right now that are currently not members, if you could shoot a quick email to robert@mychamber.org, he would be glad to do some follow-ups on that. And the last slide that we have coming up is about the FLAG program, the FLAG Corona program. Again, I think Chief got a lot of recognition, duly deserved recognition for what he and his team put together. And the FLAG program, working in conjunction with the Corona Chamber Foundation, would like to dedicate this next and the last meal that we do for the local police and fire and all the emergency team. So if there is any of you that are listening that could do any sponsorships, if you text the word FLAG to 71441, you'll be able to look at the different options for donating some funds. We've been going through multiple different restaurants in town to order the food from. We'd like to really go out with a bang. So if any of you have the extra funds available, that would be great. Two things that I did want to bring up that are not on our slides right now is this Friday we have our Legislative Action Committee, and we would love to have everyone attend that. And so if you're interested, please let us know. You can contact us at the chamber at 951-737-3350. And that's this Friday that we have that. It's a Zoom meeting. And then next Monday, we have our Coffee with the Entrepreneur. And my apologies for not posting up a slide on it, but it will be David Brambilla. And David is the owner of Creative Marketing. He is also a veteran and very involved with the American Legion Post. These seminars that we have, the Coffee with the Entrepreneur, is a partnership that we have with the City of Corona to allow people with expertise to give nuggets and takeaways for people to be able to enjoy and learn and take those nuggets and immediately adapt them into their work. And so David is an excellent individual, a real American, and we're just very pleased that he's helping us on this. So that will be at 8 o'clock on Monday coming up. With that, I would like to again, yes.
Bobby, sorry to interrupt, but Eugene Montanez would like to say something before we close out.
Absolutely. So we're going to turn it over to one of our board members, former city council member and mayor, Eugene Montanez.
Thanks. I'll make it quick. I stepped out for half a second, so I don't know if it was covered, but it has been approved by the Congress to extend the PPP loan to 24 weeks and only 60% payroll versus 75% payroll. So they're waiting for the Senate to approve it. I talked to Dave Kennett, Ken's chief of staff last night, and he said the likelihood of it happening is 100%.
Excellent, excellent. We will absolutely have that as an update for next week, and those are always good things. So thank you, Eugene. On behalf of the chamber, the board of directors, our staff, we just want to thank you. We know your time is precious for each of you to be on the call, and we just so appreciate each of you being on. On behalf of the chamber, we're officially adjourned now at 10:45.
Did you want to get a picture?
I don't know.
I can't hear you. Does everybody want to stay on to get a quick picture?
Go ahead and do that.
All right, hold on, everybody. Turn on your cameras and smile. Ready? Hold on, ready? One. We assume you will be giving us permission to share this on Facebook. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, let me see if there's any more else. Wait, hold on, we have a second page. Ready? People who have just their pictures on, you can smile too, even though you're not on camera. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.